Hey everybody, Brad Greenfield here for some more Excel 2013 training. And in this video we're going to be working with some formulas, but we're going to be using the shortcut Autosum function that's in Excel. So Excel's done a really neat thing for us. They've made it very easy to do some of our more common formulas. So we're going to jump right in here. We have just a sample data set of some project group numbers for 3 different years in accounting. These are all made up, so just for the sake of us working through this. So the first thing we're going to look at doing is getting the sum. So adding all of these cells up to get a sum. So I will click in the cell that I want to put the sum in. So what I'm wanting to do is add cells B2, B3, and B4 together. So if I go into my ribbon over here to the Autosum feature, if I click on the little drop down here beside it, I can see that what we have automatically loaded or already loaded in here is sum, average, count numbers, max, and min. And we'll go through all those just to show you how they work. By default, sum is selected. Okay, so again, if I click in my cell B5 here to get the sum of these 3 items, if I just click on AutoSum, it's going to show me that's what it's going to make sure that that's what I'm wanting to do. It is, so if I hit enter, then it'll put the total there. So if I highlight all of these 3 and then hit AutoSum, it'll do the same thing. Now, let me show you something here. What if I made a mistake? So let's say that I selected these 2 and then hit AutoSum. It's going to put the sum in the next empty cell below this data. Okay, but when I click out of here, I see this little green arrow. And what I did was I only selected cell D2 and D3 and didn't select cell D4. So if I click back in this cell, I get this little exclamation point over here, and if I click to drop it down, it's saying the formula omits adjacent cells, and what it's talking about is this cell D4 right here. So I will click on Update Formula to include the cell, and it'll go ahead and add that. And just to show you, I'll double click here, and it's going D2 through D4. Okay, so again, I will just click on AutoSum. It's asking me if that's what I want to do, and I will click Enter. Well, let's say that let me undo that and say that we wanted to do, we accidentally or for whatever reason we wanted to leave a space in here. If I click in this cell and then hit AutoSum, it's going to say, all right, are you wanting to add all of these cells up? So it's including the cells above it, right above it all the way to the top. So if I didn't want to include all those, I wanted to purposely have a vacant or an empty cell there, I could just click here in my formula and change that from an E5 to an E4. Perhaps an easier way to do that, let me just hit enter to get out of that. Easier way to do that would be go ahead and to select those, and then maybe just hit AutoSum, and if you didn't want it there, you could move that down, get the directional arrow and move that down there. So now your formula is here and covers the cells that you wanted, but you have that empty cell there that you wanted. So just want to show you that real quick. I'm going to go back and move that information up there. So the next thing we're going to do is, I think what's next in the list is average. Sure is. Okay, so I will type in average. Let me expand this so it fits. And same way we want, or actually it's not the same way. If I click on drop down and then select average, it's going to want to average even the sum cell there, and I don't want to do that. So I want to change this to B4 and hit enter. So there's our average. Now sometimes it's good to have all those decimal places. I don't necessarily want those, so I'm going to go into my home tab under the numbers grouping and click this button to decrease the amount of decimal places all the way down to 1. So I could go through here and click on the average and do that time and time again if I wanted to. And it's going to continue to want to include that last one. And let's just say, hit enter there. If I highlight the cells that I actually want to average and then go in and click average, then it's going to give me exactly what I'm looking for. But a better way to do this is, if you're wanting to average across the board, would be to mouse over this bottom right hand corner, and you can do this with sum or with any formula really. Drag over this bottom right hand corner, left click and just drag that over. And what that does is it gives me the average for this data, for the same data here. So we can see here that I did D2 through D4. Here we're going to see that we did E2 through E4. So if by dragging that across, it copies the same, adjusts the column to fit the column that I'm wanting. But the good thing about this is it keeps that formatting. Where I reduce the number of decimal places, it keeps that formatting consistent. So again, we'll go in through here and just do, I think, count. Yeah, so we want to see how many numbers are in a data set. So we'll do count. And of course, it's easy to look here and see 3, but if we had a long list of items, we really needed to see how many entries were in that list. This would make a little bit more sense. So I'll just highlight those 3, go over here, click on the drop down and do count numbers, and there I get 3. Now again, I could drag this out all the way across, and it's going to be 3 across the board because there's 3 of those in each column. So the next one is going to be max. And again, I'll highlight the data set there, click on the drop down and click on max. So we can see now that our biggest number was from 2012, and it was 54. If I drag that across, we can see our biggest number. And same thing here with men. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Men, and then if I click here, I'm going to highlight what I want to see the minimum was. Click men, and it gives me the smallest number in that range there in that column. Again, I can drag that across. Now let's say that we wanted to, and this is a formula that's not in the Autosum, and just to show you, there's more functions you could go into here, but I just want to cover these basic Autosum functions. But one item that's not in there that you may find you want to use or that you want to look at, and that's the ability to look through. You know, we looked through and we got the largest and we got the smallest of a data set. And for our small 3-entry data set, this really doesn't make much sense. But I just want to show you that if you had a long list of let's say scores, and you needed to quickly look through that and see what the top score was, the second top score, the third, fourth, fifth top score, whatever that may be. So I'm just going to type in second largest, or yeah. So again, max is going to be the largest, and we're going to just write a quick formula here for second largest, because I could see you guys really needing to use this over time. So I'll click in cell B10, and I'll just type in equals, and I'm going to type in the word large. And you can see as I'm typing that, Excel will give me a little code hint here that says, all right, it looks like you're wanting to type the word large. If I hit enter, not enter, sorry, I have to actually click on that. If I double click that, it's going to put large in there, and it's going to give me some open parentheses. So what I can do now is drag through my data set. So what I'm doing is I'm telling it, okay, I want to see the largest number in cell B, or in the range of B2 through B4, and then since I've already got the max here, I want to put a comma and then put 2. So with that comma 2, I will close my parentheses and hit enter, and then it's going to give me the second largest number. Now let's say that I had a list of 50 items. If I push 3 here, or put 3 there, it's going to give me the third largest. If I put 4 there, it's going to give me the fourth largest. If I do 5, it's going to give me the fifth largest, and so on. So you can see how this could be a really neat tool for you. Again, spaces really don't matter. You could have absolutely no spaces, and it's going to work just fine. And again, we could drag this out and see what the second largest number in each one of these columns or set of data would be. Okay? So that one last thing that we want to cover, and that's absolute values. Now, from time to time, there's going to be situations where you need to multiply a list of data, or multiply something, or do something where you don't want the number to change. And perhaps it's best just to jump in here and show you what we're talking about. So I'm going to click here and just actually click up here and insert a row. Okay, so with my new row inserted, let's just say that For whatever reason, we wanted to get a projection of, all right, we're looking and planning for 2015, and we want to try to increase our numbers by 2%. Okay, so 0.02 is what we're wanting to increase our numbers by. And actually 0.2 won't really, or 2% won't really do us justice. So let's say 25%. So what I'll do here is type in 2015 projections and space that out so that all fits in there. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to say, all right, for 2015, we want to see a 25% increase in 2014 numbers. So how will we do that? Well, an easy way to do that would be to go across here and, try to do, a sum like, let's see, so for 25%, we would do 0.25 times the cell B4, and then we're going to actually add that back to cell B4. So what we're doing here is we're multiplying 25% by B4, and then that will give us 6, I believe, and then we're adding that back to B4 so we can see what we want our numbers to be. So if I hit enter, then sure enough, that's going to be 30. Okay, so we could do that and drag that across here to the next one. And if I double click it, you can see, yes, that is 0.25. But let's say that we change that, we had our performance review or whatever, and we said, you know what, 25% just isn't good enough. We want to change that to 30%. Well, what we would have to do if we did it this way, if we hard coded this number in here of 0.25, we would have to go back and change every one of these. With a small data set, it's not that big of a deal. But there's a way that we could put a number over here kind of in some empty space that we could use to help us do this a lot easier. Okay, so let me just undo to get us where we've undo, and let me clear all this out. So over here, I'm just going to type in, let me zoom out just a little bit, percent increase. Okay, so we'll do it that way. Okay, so I could do a couple things. I could type in 25 and then highlight that cell and make it percentage, or I could just do a 0.25, and I'm just going to do 0.25. Okay, so with that done, I will come over here into my cell B4, and I will start typing my formula equals, and we are going to do, since we actually want the the multiplication to happen first, we don't have to worry about parentheses, although you could put them in if you wanted to, but you really don't have to. So we're going to take cell B4 and we're going to multiply it by the 25% over here, and then we're going to add that answer right back to cell B4. So we're getting that percentage, which is 6, and then we're going to add that to the 24 so we can see what number we need to get in 2015 to meet our goals. So if I hit enter, so there's our 30. Okay, so now if I drag this across, then that's at 45. Well, wait a minute, that doesn't really seem to be right. So if I double click on this cell to see what the formula is, okay, C4, that's right, times I2. Well, that's not right. I don't have anything in I2 right here. So what's happened is, as I drag this across, get back over here, as I drag this formula across, it incremented everything. So it went from B4 to C4, and then from H2 to I2. Well, we don't want it to do that. Okay, so an easy way that we can stop it from doing that is what's called absolute values. Now you may be familiar with absolute values, but essentially in Excel what we mean is we're going to lock a cell in to be absolute. So I'll hit enter there and just click undo to clear that out, and then go back in here and double click my formula. So I want to lock in cell H2, and to do that we use number signs, and number signs are just the symbols here. It doesn't represent actual monetary value. So I'm going to click shift and 4 to get the number sign there, and the same thing after the 2. So we're locking in column H and we're locking in row 2. So anywhere we drag this, that H2 is going to be consistent. Okay, so if I hit enter now, we get our 30, and now when I drag this across, everything's going to be correct. So if I double click in cell C5, I can see it locked into H2. Same thing here with D, it locked into H2, and same thing here with E, it locked into H2. All right, so we covered some auto sums here. We added showed you how to get the second largest, third largest, fourth largest number in a data set, and we even worked with some absolute values. So that'll do it for this course. We'll have more Excel training coming soon.